Slovenia is having a difficult time at the moment. They've just ended their term as the EU president, and they've managed to garner themselves a somewhat negative reputation. So, in this video, we're going to discuss what Slovenia's up to, if this European nation is backsliding, and what the country joining the crew of the European bad boys would mean for the continent. If you like explainers like this, which dive into the details and drama of European politics, then be sure to subscribe. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram for explainers which never make it to YouTube. We really appreciate your support. On the 16th of December, the EU Council met for a summit in Brussels. From the 1st of July to the 31st of December, the EU Council was under the presidency of Slovenia, who took over from Portugal. For those of you who don't know, every 6 months, an EU member state takes over the presidency of the EU Council. The 6-month role is focused on being a neutral arbiter in coordinating and facilitating member states' contributions within EU decision-making processes, setting the political agenda and steering lawmaking processes, as well as partly representing the EU. With Slovenia's term ending a few days ago, some in the EU will be breathing a sigh of relief at what has been perceived as a slightly chaotic presidency. The country is now seen by many as having joined the bad boys of the EU, along with Hungary and Poland, all three countries having clashed with the EU Commission over rule of law concerns. Just 6 days into the presidency, the Slovenian Interior Minister allegedly called the Commission Vice President swine, and a few months later, the Slovenian Prime Minister, Janez Janša, accused the Commission of abusing its powers. Janša has been dubbed by many as the Slovenian Trump. Like Trump, he's got a habit of making false claims and promoting conspiracy theories on Twitter, which has earned him the nickname Marshal Tweeto, a reference to former Yugoslav leader Marshal Josip Broz Tito. For example, in October, Janša accused certain MEPs of being, quote, Soros puppets via Twitter. Leaving aside the conspiratorial anti-Semitic overtones, the picture Janša tweeted also lists several politicians who are no longer members of the European Parliament. One of the politicians mentioned, Hans van Balen, died earlier this year. In addition, last year he sent a premature congratulatory message to Mr. Trump after partial results in the US election showed the Republican president in an illusionary lead. However, it's not just Janša's tweets that has caused concerns in Brussels over the state of democracy and media freedom in the country. Since gaining power in 2020, Janša's government has been extensively criticised for trying to suppress political checks on his power and influence. This has drawn the country into debates about the rule of law within the EU, a concept referring to respect for due process, plurality in politics and media, and the upholding of civic freedoms such as free speech. Janša has labelled journalists reporting on his government as prostitutes and withheld funding from the STA, the Slovenian National Press Agency. His government also delayed nominating its 2 delegated members for the European Public Prosecutor's Office. The EPPO is an anti-corruption EU agency established under the Treaty of Lisbon between 22 of the 27 states of the EU. Denmark, Sweden, Ireland, Poland and Hungary do not participate. It's an independent and decentralised prosecution office of the EU, with the competence to investigate and prosecute crimes against the EU budget, such as fraud, corruption or serious cross-border VAT fraud. Before the EPPO became operational, only national authorities could investigate and prosecute fraud against the EU budget. But this obviously didn't work great because their powers stopped at national borders. Unsurprisingly, Janša's disdain for media freedom and attempts to interfere in appointing European public prosecutors have invited criticism from those who see Slovenia's politics treading a dangerously illiberal path. So, what's been the EU's response? In October of last year, a European Parliament delegation travelled to Slovenia, where they met with national authorities, journalists and NGOs to assess respective EU values and the rule of law. At the end of the mission, Sophie in 't Veld, the chair of the Civil Liberties Committee delegation, said, "We observed that the public institutions overall work well." At the same time, the delegation experienced a climate of hostility, distrust, and deep polarisation in the country, which erodes trust in and between various public bodies. Mikolaus Peszka, who represents the Committee on Budgetary Control, said he witnessed a very high level of pressure on watchdog institutions and civil society organisations. The government is cutting funds, initiating intimidation lawsuits, and verbally attacking anyone who dares to investigate or criticise its actions. This is all very bad, but what can this EU delegation realistically do about the situation in Slovenia? So far in the EU Parliament, there have been two notable resolutions in recent months on the rule of law situation in Slovenia. First was voted on the 24th of November, with Janša being a notable absentee. Shortly before this resolution, Slovenia finally nominated its two delegated members for the European Public Prosecutor's Office, after a long delay. It also unblocked the budget for the Republic's news agency, STA, however with very little time to spare before it would have collapsed due to a lack of funds. EU Commissioner Reinders welcomed this news, saying that the EU executive would continue to monitor the situation closely. However, other European politicians have floated triggering Article 7, a procedure in the treaties of the EU to suspend certain rights from a member state. It can be enacted if fellow members identify another member as persistently breaching the EU's founding values: respect for human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and respect for human rights, as outlined in Article 2 of the Treaty of the European Union. The second rule of law resolution at the European Parliament took place on Thursday the 16th of December and called on the Slovenian government to cease all political interference and pressure on public broadcasters and to make regular payments to the STA and guarantee its editorial independence. It's worth noting that Janša and his party, the SDS, belong to the political mainstream as members of the European People's Party. This centre-right organisation is the largest political party in the European Parliament and European Council. A majority of EPP MEPs, including group leader Manfred Weber, opted to defend its Slovenian member, and in doing so to defend Janša's Slovenian Democratic Party by voting against the resolution. Rivals of the EPP were quick to condemn the group's lack of support for the resolution and drew the parallel between the EPP's approach to Janša and its past relationship with Hungary's ruling Fidesz party, which quit the group earlier this year. German MEP Birgit Sippel, a member of the Socialists and Democrat group, said in a statement that the Conservatives in the European Parliament are reverting back to bad habits. Just as the case with Orban's Fidesz party, the EPP group is unable to criticise its Slovenian delegation for backsliding on the rule of law, purely because they are political bedmates. So, what does the future hold for Slovenia? Prime Minister Janša currently leads an unstable ruling coalition at home. His party, the Slovenian Democratic Party, currently forms a minority government in coalition with the Modern Centre Party, New Slovenia, and Democratic Party of Pensioners of Slovenia. Marjan Sarec, who is leader of the largest opposition party, LMS, has called on all opposition parties to sign a pledge not to enter any coalition with Janeš. It's announced that the next general election will be held in Slovenia on the 24th of April 2022. So, let's watch this space. Meanwhile, what do you think about the situation in Slovenia? Do you think that its presidency has been an embarrassment for the EU? Do you think the EU's response has been too weak? What else can the EU realistically do to thwart populists such as Janša? Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible, and if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then sign up by clicking the link below.